Welcome to the Mindset Mechanics Podcast with Juan and Ladybug Jenkins. It's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. The shop is open, so pull on in.
Welcome to Mechanical Monday. You are in the shop. I'm Ladybug.
And I am Juan
Jenkins.
and we are your Mindset Mechanics, reminding you that it is not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you.
And when you do that, acceleration is inevitable. In today's episode titled You Need an Alignment, we are going to discuss the importance of communication and how it affects our relationships. So, Jay, why don't you tell the crew listening what we mean?
Yes, indeed. Alignment is defined as a position or agreement or alliance. A car's alignment, also known as wheel alignment, adjusts the angles of a vehicle's tires so they make contact with the road correctly. So we have two definitions here, one for vehicles and one for people. Let's tell our story and then I'll explain how both definitions can help us understand the topic. So Ladybug, can you give the crew an example of what alignment might look like in real life?
Absolutely, sir. Let's meet Janet and James. They are project managers at a consulting firm. They're in charge of a multi-million-dollar project. They have a deadline and a lot to accomplish before that date arrives. Success will mean big bonuses and promotions for both of them. They do have different work styles. James is very strategic and he believes in just working hard. Janet is great with soft skills like managing people, communicating, getting things done that may not be in the handbook, but, not breaking of rules. They each play to their strengths, stay in their lane, and perform very well together. They aren't particularly fond of each other as people, but they are very professional at all times. So during this project, on a Friday afternoon, they're called into a meeting. They are actually losing 7 days off of their original deadline at the client's request. Now they have 2 weeks to finish this project instead of 3. Needless to say, it's a challenge and they are more than a little frustrated. So what are you thinking so far, Jay?
Oh, wow. I'm thinking that this client is tripping. If the timeline is already tight, a week is a lot to lose. Good thing they work well together. So tell us what happened next.
Well, Monday morning rolls around. Janet and James both arrived to the conference room with a big smile on their face. James announces that he stayed up almost all weekend completing the PowerPoints and the budgets so that they can move ahead with other aspects of the project. And then Janet's face falls. On Friday after that meeting, she convinced HR to lend her an intern who spent the weekend doing all the PowerPoints. And then she stayed up completing the budgets. She has now scheduled a full day of meetings for her and James with various departments so they can get the project done on time. But she can already tell, looking at James at this point, that he does not have a 12-hour workday in him after staying up all weekend doing them PowerPoints.
Oh, wow. What a mess. So they both spent the weekend duplicating work. They wasted time they didn't have when the stakes were very, very high. Did they find the exit or what?
Well, Janet did what she does best. They went ahead and pivoted. She got one of her associates with keys to the executive suites upstairs to give James access to one of their rooms so that he could crash out. He spent 6 hours in a very deep sleep, and while he did that, Janet attended the first half of those all-day meetings. She took lots of notes, completed as much work as she could, and then after James rejoined her, she caught him up, gave him her notes, and they spent the next 8 hours plowing through everything necessary to get them onto their new timeline. And by the close of business that day, things were looking very promising.
All right. Shout out to Janet and James.
Yeah.
That's right. It's interesting that they work well together as a team, but not communicating one time caused a huge, huge mess. Even though they had the same goal, they weren't clear on how they intended to get there when change came. One of the things that alignment in a vehicle does is prevent excess wear and tear. This is a prime example of that. By not lining up their strategy, they were both more tired and stressed than necessary.
Yes, indeed. And you mentioned that you were going to explain how the vehicle alignment applies to relationships, and that's good because, I don't know a lot about cars, but I have driven one that needs an alignment. Your tires will wear down unevenly. It takes so much more effort to drive, and you cannot relax for a second, or the car will drift out of its lane.
Exactly. Think about that for a minute. You're putting yourself and the people around you in danger when that happens.
Absolutely. So that's kind of what happened with Janet and James. By not being aligned at several different points, they ended up wearing each other down unnecessarily. So that's good. So let's take a look in the rearview mirror, Jay. This is where we use the power of hindsight to evaluate our topic. So what's in your rearview mirror on this one?
This is interesting because neither James or Janet were wrong. My takeaway is don't assume you're in alignment. Just like you check your car, check yourself.
Well,
Yep. The ride will be much smoother if you do. What's in your review on this one, Buck?
wow, that's really good. My takeaway may seem a little odd. So I look at it as James and Janet riding in the same car, going in the same direction, and they both want to get there on time. But what if one of them was in charge of navigating and one was in charge of keeping gas in the car? But they got mixed up or something changed and they didn't communicate. If either of them failed, they would not make it, or they would not make it in time. So it takes a lot of moving parts working together in step, and every part matters. No one part is more important than the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. That lets me know that if I am aligned with God, I will always end up in the right place at the right time.
Ooh, yes, sir. I can take a deep breath knowing that.
Yeah. So thanks for stopping by the shop. We trust it helped. I am Juan.
And I'm Ladybug Jenkins,
reminding you that it is not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for stopping by the shop. Tune in next Mechanical Monday so you can get the tools to find, face, and fix your mindset and accelerate your life.